Hello and welcome to the Health Wizard podcast with your host, Elena Wilkins, who happens to be me. I'm so excited that you are choosing to listen to this podcast because you're choosing to put your health as your priority. This podcast is dedicated to teaching the most natural, amazing means that you can use to get your health back on track and reclaim the person that you used to be before getting sick. Now, very quickly, before we dive into the good stuff, I just wanted to remind you that this podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. My podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice. If you have a medical condition, please seek the help of a licensed medical professional. We're not medical doctors, and we do not treat, diagnose, prescribe, or make any claims outside of what we know or what we do. So by choosing to listen to our podcast, you take responsibility for your own actions. And if you hear the testimonials of people who were able to get well, you'll realize that their outcomes depended on their effort and their specific condition. With that said, let's jump into today's topic. Please enjoy. So we are going live right now with Itzel. And Itzel, we're going to talk about you today. And it's so exciting for me because it was, 6 months ago that you and I had a phone conversation when you got on the call and you said, I was just looking at your profile yesterday, just kind of refresh my memory. You've tried, Archie said, hello, Itzel.
Hi,
there are going to be comments there. But
yep.
So we're looked at, I looked at your profile and you tried the HCG diet and you were on medications and supplements. And I was reading through the list. I'm like, I didn't even remember you were doing that much when you first started. But why don't you take me back as to what made you reach out to me back 6 months ago?
Yeah, well, I think I had a hormonal imbalance probably a good 8 years ago, at least, if not more. And, we went through it's been a long journey, but try to be concise. From bioidentical hormone replacement, acupuncture, and eventually got to the point where, and it was like, I just kind of navigated through it and dealt with it. And I never knew it was my thyroid until maybe 2 years ago. And that's when it was an issue because we were trying to have a baby. And then I was, and then the weight just packed on, as in these 8 years. And, I just kept getting these symptoms, especially the anxiety, the panic attacks, the mood swings, the libido problems, all these things, not to mention infertility. And so at some point I tried the CG diet, which is this crazy diet, going 500 calories a day. And just really desperate at this point, I think that Western medicine, typically we tried some just thyroid replacement pills, that's kind of the standard. And so I was like, okay, well, this is what I have to do. But lo and behold, when I took my first pill of that, my heart started racing at night, after the whole day it took effect. And my heart started racing, just getting these awful palpitations to the point where I was like, oh my God, do I need to go to the ER right now? And so I called the doctor. She said, it's discontinue. Let's try another brand. And so that's when the dance started as far as trying different brands, different doses, and just couldn't find it. They all created the same symptoms in me as far as heart palpitations, anxiety, and very quickly, within no more than 3 days, I wouldn't react well. However, my lab work showed that there was pretty significant hypothyroidism. So
when you first came to me, that was what? Your TSH was 56.
Yeah, it was really out of control at that point. I think my body was just kind of going up and down and trying to figure things out. And obviously at this point, I was pretty desperate, because the medication, even Western medication, I wasn't reacting well to it. And so I started just Googling, looking up, just desperate for answers. And I had to say, well, obviously food has to be my, and I started hearing rumors, talk about raw diets and food and this and that. So I stumbled upon one of Elena's YouTube videos and caught my eye, and how it was just like, hey, and especially because she went through an infertility situation, and that just really touched, my heart. And I was all like, let's reach out to this woman. And so this ended up being one of the best things, I do think the Lord, really kind of guided me to this, to this woman. And because, now I feel like I hear of diets and people, poor people out there just thinking all these programs and pills, and I'm like, no, food is your solution. The right foods. So anyway, that's
yeah. Isn't it amazing though that you went from doctor to doctor? And I know you're right there on the border with Mexico, and you go to Mexico and United States, and all doctors in both places were like just medicine and more medicine. Some of them are more lenient, some of them are not. And it was like a crazy merry-go-round for you. The medication is not working. Then you came on bioidentical hormones. Those are not working, and nothing is working. And that time you're crying out saying, God, why me? What did I do that was so wrong in my life for me to end up with this? And it's pretty severe. And when you listen to a lot of diets out there I know there are a lot of protocols, so I'm not going to name any names, but take this, 20 supplements for 3 months and eat this diet, and then take another 10 of this. And it's so much more confusion as opposed to as what we do, going back to the bases and getting started. But let me get you to where we started working with you, and our goal was, I remember when I asked you a question, I said, do you want to get pregnant first or do you want to be well first? And you're like, no, I know I want a baby really, really bad, but I know that I want to be really well first. I'm like, okay, deal. Now, 3 weeks later, 3 weeks go by, and you show up to all the calls, you're asking questions, you're doing great, symptoms are going away. And then I will never forget the day we just did a Q&A that we do with our clients. Just logged off. It was not 10, 15 minutes later, I get this email, OMG, I just peed on a stick and I think I'm pregnant. And I'm like, oh my God. So I was like, we're happy, we're crazy, what's going on? It's only 3 weeks in. And so that was a point of your life. Like, what did you go through emotionally 3 weeks into this? I know that you and George, you went through a couple of years of infertility, then you had a miscarriage, which was very painful on you. And all of a sudden now your TSH is 56, you're 3 weeks into a new program, new lifestyle, and boom, you're pregnant. What did you go through at that time?
You know what? There was a lot of mixed emotions. There was fear, there was happiness, there was, a lot of, because I had it just worked out that way. The scheduling, I started Elena's program, the eating program, right as I had finished my last menstruation. So that's how I know it was kind of like right on the clock. And I was also technically, if you look at ovulation dates and all that stuff, technically I was only like 2 weeks into this protocol, I guess, let me just call it that, when I technically got pregnant. Then you don't find out until 30 days later because you miss your period, right? But at that point, my body was still healing. My TSH was still high. I was in the very early stages of healing, and the symptoms were coming off, and I was doing well. But I just was like, oh no, because I had a miscarriage about a year ago. Then obviously I had all these emotions. So at that point, a lot of fear, happiness and fear at the same time. And so we were like, so at this point, we have to go back on medication just for the sake of baby, so then a whole nother situation started, but I continued with the diet and all that. And at this point, my TSH is at 5.0. I just took it. My lab work.
That's from 56 to 5.0 without medication.
Without medication. Yeah. It all without medication. And I'm just very thankful. You have no idea. This baby has just helped me, and eating correctly, has just helped me. So, oh man. So I'm just thankful. In the beginning, I was just really worked up and going to doctors, running left and right. Oh no, I stopped gluten and I'm eating this now, but my TSH still high. It's so early, I was in this.
It's pretty normal. So a lot of women start working with us, and I was having a conversation with a new client, and I said, we forget sometimes you had 8 years of disease, really illness, and not feeling great. Then 2 weeks later, we're better, and all of a sudden, like, I want it faster, and I want it faster, and I want to go away. And then we don't realize when you start with 56, then it takes time for it to climb down. But you went from 56 to like 40s, 30s. In 3 months, I remember you were at solid 12. And that was, you were already pregnant, and doctors are still scaring you. And I'll never forget the time when we're on our weekly call, and you're like, Elena, I can't take the medication, it's making me sick, but I'm too afraid not to take medication. What do I do? What do I do? And at that point, we agreed that you need to go with your consciousness, with your body, with your, what your mine was telling you and you decided to be medication free. And of course, that was not a bad decision because looking at where you are now and you're still medication free and your TSH, which is fine, 5 is fine, people. If somebody's telling you otherwise, they're lying. So 5 used to be the norm. The TSH range used to be between 0.5 and 5.5 until what was it, about 12, 15 years ago, they made it between 0.3 and 3 now and 3.5 sometimes. So a few years ago, you would have been within the range. What we're looking for is as long as you're asymptomatic, then you're cool. Then it can be, under 10 and that's fine. So, but for you, I thought what was funny when we reconnected recently, said your T3 and your T4 TSH is fine, but doctor still told you, let's put you on medication. How did that go over?
Yeah, you know what, I'm really trying to pick my battles because I don't want to get flustered and anxious and upset because, with pregnancy, you really have to just try to keep calm and stuff. And I just said, when I see that the doctor's really stubborn and really, I'm like, okay, yeah, and I try to discuss it with him a little bit, but when I say, no, you need to take this. Okay, well, I'll definitely do that. I'll see you next appointment, grab my purse and then just don't take it, because I think one of the most valuable things that I learned, through Elena's program and with just doing the mindset is that a lot of stuff is like, use your common sense. I mean, know your body, your body as well. These doctors, they're trained in Western medicine and how to use medication. They're not, and because of their license, they have to recommend that you do this. They can't say like, well, yeah, just get off of gluten and go on because if something happens, their license is on the line. So I guess I get that. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm the one paying the consequences later on when I'm having anxiety attacks, when I'm having heart palpitations, when something happens to my child. So at some point I had to be like, okay, my common sense told me if my TSH is lowering on its own, it's fixing itself.
And mind you, during pregnancy, because a lot of women who are here in a group, they'll say, well, when did your problem begin? And they'll say during pregnancy. So the whole belief is that pregnancy makes you sicker, but you are getting healthier during your pregnancy.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I've always been against the statistical, for some reason. And just, I just have to go with my common sense at this point. I'm thankful to the Lord that my body is responding versus getting sicker. But so I just said, if my body is improving on its own, why are you going to, add pills to that? Or why are, just let it be. The baby's growing according to like ultrasounds or whatever. I feel fine, just let it be. And so I had to just make a choice. And I remember talking with Elena and the group, and I was really scared because it just kept, saying these scary things and your baby can have these severe deficits. And I said, you know what? I understand that, and I'm not trying to be negligent, but at the same time, I don't think it's healthy for me to keep having anxiety attacks during pregnancy. That's not healthy either. And they kept saying, well, yeah, but this is for your baby. I understand, but my baby needs me to grow at this point, and I need to.
And plus, you want to enjoy that pregnancy. So you and George were trying to get pregnant for a couple of years, and you were sick for 9 to 8 years, and you want to be the present mother. So when I conceived after years of hypothyroidism and infertility, I was like, I loved every single moment, except when I was weak, the first trimester. How that can go, nausea and all this. Once I was out of the woods, I was like, oh, that's fantastic. I'm in heaven. This is what pregnancy is about. And I remember when you were on medication because doctors are pressuring you and the fear is applied and you were not loving your pregnancy. And that was so heartbreaking. And like you said, they're afraid to lose their license and hear me. So legally, I cannot tell you, don't be on medication because that's not my area of expertise. And we were faced with that question. Like, what should I do? What should I do? So guiding through that, I was putting my license on the line as well, saying, we should go with this, but this is the extent where I'm willing to go with my clients. We need to look out what is best for you, your baby, your family, and for you to live in anxiety. And George's constantly worried about you and the baby. That was not being healthy. That was not being responsible.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that was, and I remember having this discussion in the group, and the group was just so amazing. I was never really a believer in groups, but, they don't really know what I do at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, even when Elena was like, well, technically I'm not supposed to say this, but even other people were able to, they did have the freedom to say this or that. And just their support and just also their common sense. I was like, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that empowered me to make a decision.
And at the end of the day, wasn't that the most important thing for you to be your own person? So when you go to doctors now, you're no longer afraid of, they tell you to do something or not to do something. You are in power. You're at cause. I hear a lot of this from our women potential clients and clients is this. They made me do this. The doctor told me have thyroidectomy, or the doctor told me have hysterectomy, and I did it. At the end of the day, we know this. Nobody can make you do anything you don't want to do. So it's our belief that somehow we're negligent, or the fear or the guilt that pushes us to make those decisions that are not good for you. But where you ended up with right now is you are as empowered as they come. You are a mother who is already protecting her baby right now. So as opposed to being guilted into making a decision, you did it out of love for yourself and the baby. And that's the power, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because at the end of the day, Elena, I'm a therapist and I work with disabled children. And so I said, okay, but if something happens to my, if God forbid something happens to my child, then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, we don't know why the child, everybody throws their hands up in the air and nobody knows. And that's, so I said, no, but so that means as uncomfortable as it might be, as I just have to really dig deep and use those motherly instincts and, and just make a decision. And so like you said, my common sense, and Elena always kind of kept going back to this, like, use your common sense. Like, does this make sense for you? And just even going back to I remember talking about soy products and China, you're like, China has eaten soy for centuries and they're not, whatever, they're not sick people. And we were like, right, okay.
Common sense and for me, my whole system, my whole program is about this. Common sense. What does the science say and the common sense say? What does the history say? And history showed us for at least 200,000 years of human history that we know humans existed is we made it just fine up until the evolution of the medication and the doctors. And that's where we began to screw with our bodies and say, you need bioidentical hormones or you need medication, or you probably, some of you have not looked that deep into history, but beginning of the century in America, last century, women are put in straight jackets while giving birth to babies because apparently they get in the way. So you put them in straight jackets and you make them push until they're blue in the face or you break their water too soon. So women became this liability and stupid creatures it's in America, not everywhere it was like that. But right now we're coming back on the end of this. We had experimented with our bodies for over 100 years as humanity. And now, so this whole movement is common sense and empowerment. And to see you going from, I remember like, oh my God, but what do you do? Just tell me what to do. And me saying, no, you have to make the decision. Here are the facts, make the decision. But now are you better off for that you stepped up and you were able to make those decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just learned to let a lot of things go in this pregnancy as far as anxieties and just right now I'm 26 weeks pregnant and they're pushing the
You're about to start the third trimester.
Yeah, we're getting close. And oh man, they're trying to push the glucose tolerance test on me. And another thing I was like, okay, my common sense tells me, going back to this, like you're poor. If I wasn't a diabetic, this drink that 75 milligrams of sugar will definitely make me diabetic. And so I just tell, I keep asking the doctors, you're like, hey, you know what? Check my blood all you want, check all the glucose you want there. But to drink this, you're like torturing this poor child, you're putting them through like stress. So in my case, I felt like, or I feel, I'm like, my body's already, kind of up the creek without a paddle with this thyroid situation. And then you're pouring this sugary drink, and they're like, oh no, it's fine. And of course, so Elena's all like, you can waive it, and you have the right. And
what does the common sense say?
Yeah, I'm like, well, if you eat, so, back to this, I definitely have to, like you said, take responsibility for the decisions that we make, because definitely if something, I just feel like, as a mother now, any shot or any cream I put on me is like, what is that? What are you getting me? I'm because with this child, you're like, what are you putting in my body with, because of my baby, you don't want anything to harm them. So, but it's made me just aware of my eating habits, and then, not to get swayed by just these fads. Like in the program, Elena provides you with all this material and articles and to educate us really on what food is and how to look at food and make choices. And I think that's something invaluable for me, because now I don't easily get swept off my feet with just this, hey, there's this diet and I lost 25 pounds in a month and I don't know what. And I'm like, no, that cannot be good for you. That could,
And how soon does it come back, and how do you feel afterward? And I spoke with somebody today that did lose the weight and then comes back because there's no sustainability. And we're looking for somebody like me. I lost 50 pounds 10 years ago. Have I been able to keep it off? How healthy is it? Do I count my calories? You did the HCG diet. How crazy is that? 500 calories plus whatever else goes into your body. That's not common sense.
Yeah,
that's torture. I think that's the definition of torture.
It was.
How desperately do you have to want something? So for me, Itzel, here's what it was. I had infertility issues. We wanted a baby. But when I looked at women who were going through the hormone treatments to get pregnant or to ovulate, I'm like, that's torture. If this is what having a baby is about, I probably don't want a baby at all. And that's how I view my whole life. Is this something I want to do on a regular basis? And I know we all want different things in life. But for me, I was like, I would rather adopt, and I want a baby of my body and all, but that's torture. But 500 calories a day, that's torture.
Yeah, it was a very torturous diet. And nonetheless, yeah, we did it, lost the weight, but guess what? It came right back. The weight came right back. And so it was really discouraging. It was 40 days, but I felt like 40 days in the desert, It was really torturous, but now, even with, I lost the weight in 40 days with Elena's program, I lost in maybe 2 weeks or 3, maybe. I lost the 10 pounds. And by no means was I starving myself. I never felt deprived. I felt satisfied. And the cravings, and anytime people ask, I said, this is the only program that I've been on that I did not have cravings.
Where the woman tells you, what are you telling me? You ate only 3 meals? 5 meals, 7 meals. Come on, eat more, eat more.
Yeah. And, and I go back to this, we're carnivores. So this is the only diet that I actually lost, about 10 pounds right before getting pregnant. And a lot of inflammation in my belly. I'm sure a lot of the hormones, estrogen, were balanced out, which is why I was able probably to ovulate. That's what one of the doctors said. She's like, usually when you have a 10-pound loss, you ovulate. And so, I would do this. This is something you can actually hold for the rest of your life. This is a lifestyle that you can actually do for the rest of your life.
And and for you, for the rest of your life means the little, and so we can tell them, right? It's a boy. It's a boy.
It's a boy.
It's George. So when George comes out, it's not for the rest of your life. It's for the rest of his life. And he can teach his kids and grandkids to do it. And I'm sure there might be Georgette or Itzel coming out after that. So that is for the rest of their life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is, I tell them no cravings. I was fine. I was happy. My mood was stable. I had struggled with dry eyes a lot. Even that was, balancing out. Just I had a lot of swelling in my stomach always, just a lot of weight gain in my, midsection. And that just deflated, everywhere you just deflate. There's so much inflammation in our body that we have no idea. And then just in 2-3 weeks, my, all this inflammation you just deflate, which is great.
I love it. That's going to be my new promotion word. We're going to deflate you.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And so your husband has been watching you go through this whole process. And a lot of women that come to me when we have the discovery call and we get to the point of, okay, I usually go through the process. Can I work with you? Can I help this person? Do I want to work with them? Because I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I had not taken the oath the doctors take on everybody. I believe in take on only the people that you can really, truly help. So we went through that process and you made the decision. And then you probably shocked George, I enrolled in this program, I'm doing it. But then he watched you go through this whole thing. How has it been for George to watch you get where you are now?
He was, he's like, I'll support. He was very supportive throughout the process. And he was like, well, I think he's more on the lazy side of cooking. So he's like, whatever you eat is fine. Whatever you cook or make is fine with me. But I think he would tell me your sleep has been better. I'm a very light sleeper and then insomnia and all this. So he's like, your sleep is better, which is a big problem in bed sharing, obviously, with a couple. And so he notices in my sleep right away, and then my moods aren't so up and down. I think that was one of the things I mentioned to Elena when we started. I just want to be able to be stable mood wise. You know, I don't want to be in these ups and downs, and that just regulated. I became pleasant. You know, my husband would come home and I wasn't upset or irritable or something. So he became definitely a believer into the program. And I think he enjoyed it, comparing that to a lot of things in the Bible. You know, we like to, you know, find spiritual meaning in a lot of things. He said, you know, there's a lot of stories and anecdotes in the Bible that people choose, you know, plant-based foods. Not only was starting since creation, you know, there was only fruits around and maybe leaves, I don't know. Mm-hmm. So we enjoyed looking at that, and that started making sense. They're like, right, this sounds like this is the right diet. This is what we should be eating, since this is what as humans, we were created to eat. So naturally, if we eat what we were created to eat, then we will heal, we will be healthy, we will be optimal. So
yeah. So George is on board. George is all supportive now. He's probably happy that you're not having mood swings, and he's not sure which Itzel he's going to come back home to.
Yeah, and of course he's over the moon now that we got pregnant. I mean, I think we weren't expecting results this early, but I think your body is so wise. You know, you give it 2 weeks. I mean, I like to look at it this way. Technically, it was 2 weeks. To detox, lose some weight, and boom, my body was able to.
Well, you're my fastest baby success story. We had clients get pregnant at 4 weeks, at 6 months, at a year. We never had anybody beat that until you came around, and technically at 2 weeks, that makes it even more impossible, which is fantastic. I'll take that anytime. We had clients like Teresa, Tracy. They were going through a program. They were not looking to get pregnant. Tracy was, if anything, she's like, I don't want to get pregnant. Make note of that. Do not get me pregnant. But they were able to get rid of all of their symptoms in just a matter of 8 weeks. And for you to get pregnant in 3 weeks, that's probably every woman who is out there on some kind of hormone support for fertility or infertility. That's their dream come true. And you did it without having to go through that.
Exactly. You know, and so I felt really blessed, and just we went through this roller coaster. But when people asked me, you know, like I was like, hey, you know, yeah, I got pregnant. And they're like, oh, but I don't want to get pregnant. No,
it happens all the time. That's why I don't ever tell people who don't want to get pregnant about a pregnancy success story, because they're like, okay, that's the wrong program for me. I don't want to get pregnant. Now, when you're 60, there's nothing to worry about. But, you know, until then, it's fair game.
But I tell people, you know, like, no, usually you need more than food to get pregnant. But even if you, to me, it sounds like, well, if you're not able to get pregnant, then something's probably not healthy in your body. So it's not a good thing to not be able to get pregnant at within the age range. But, but I tell people, I tell them this, you know, the story all the time, and they're just like, really, what? And I have friends who went through very expensive fertility programs and stuff. And they ask me, you know, so what did you do? What happened? You know what? This is just 8 apples, you know, spinach and
worked on my mindset, was not freaking out as much anymore. And a part of our work was that, remember when you came in, we always joke in our program that food is the easy part. The diet is the easy part. What we're looking is changing this. It's you saying, I don't have to listen to my doctors every single time. I can be in charge of my body. I don't have to freak out if my numbers are not immediately from 56 to 1. It can take a time. So it's a mindset work. And that's a huge process too. Mm-hmm. So as opposed to going to infertility clinic and getting injected and having all the crazy mood swings and all women going through, you get to improve your mindset, improve your body, and get healthier, and then conceive. It's a much better alternative, I think.
Yeah, and you know what? I completely agree with you, because even when I was pregnant and my TSH levels were at 56, and I started getting all this lab work and talking to doctors, and oh my God. But then finally, when I got to a point that I let go and just said, listen, if my body was, you know, if the Lord was good enough to help me, you know, and my body get pregnant, then I have to let go. I have to really and relax, because obviously my anxiety was through the roof at this point, even pregnant. So, and as soon as I just let things go, and you know what, let the appointments come when they come. And I was really worried about, like, I need to see this doctor tomorrow. And then they were giving me appointment like 2 weeks out, or like, 3 a month out. And so finally, when I let things go and my anxiety levels, like you said, my mindset was just like, okay, then I have no control over this. My body was able to get pregnant on its own. So, and that's when I think I had that biggest jump from 56, like down to 20.
12 in 3 months. Yeah. We have a good track record of that.
That was in like a matter of 2 weeks, maybe like, but it was that big jump that I made. But that was
I think it was like from 56 to 30 something. And then when you finally surrendered to the process and you come down and let the anxiety go, it went from like 30 something to 12. And that was huge. That was in a matter of about 2 weeks.
Yeah. So my anxiety levels definitely contributed a lot, or like relaxing and just letting things go really had a lot to do with just your levels. So absolutely, that has a lot to do with your health and your thyroid levels. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have a comment from Maria. I'm going to read it, put it up here. Maria says, congratulations on bettering your health and getting pregnant. If I don't have my thyroid meds, my heart palpitations, anxiety come back. I'm on IRFA thyroid and was told to double the medication once I find out I'm pregnant. Should I have a blood test before upping it myself? Well, I'm going to defer that question to me as an answer.
Yeah.
So Maria, first of all, again, we're looking at, since you're in this group, we're looking at natural solutions to health issues, and doubling your medication during pregnancy is certainly not a natural solution. So that was the case with Itzel when Itzel came in and her TSH is through the roof and she's getting pregnant at that time. The fear was, you want to save this baby, get medicated. There was never a conversation about the mother's health. It was more like save the baby. And our instinct as women is save the baby, do whatever it takes, even if it's crazy. So my recommendation would be on this side is, yeah, you can get tested, but I would not be looking at, do I need to up my medicine? At this time, I would be looking like, what did Itzel do in order to get better? And with Itzel, we made dietary changes. There were a couple of supplements we worked in that she needed at that time. And there were a lot of mindset work. There was more movement, so physical activity. But all of everything that we're discussing today was done without medication. And we might have done 2 to 3 supplements at that time only as she needed it, as opposed to going in for more of things. The way I work with clients is usually, what can we simplify? What can we do less of, not more of? And that's why when we're looking at Itzel from 56 to 5, naturally without medication, TSH dropped by itself. So do you up your medication? That is a very general statement, because if your doctors don't run the labs and then they're saying, so Itzel gets pregnant and she should double her medicine, and you get pregnant, you should double your medicine, but they didn't look, did your numbers really get affected by pregnancy or not? What if they didn't, and you're doubling the medicine and now you're driving yourself into a hyper state, and then you're not better off, and now you're at a risk of losing your pregnancy as well. So there are so many factors involved that would be actually one of the scariest things to do is just double your medication, because when you go on, when you get pregnant. So if you're on levothyroxine or Synthroid and you're 100 micrograms a day, which is already a huge dosage, imagine doubling that. And for somebody on a smaller side, that will make you super, super sick. And the symptoms and side effects of Synthroid or levothyroxine or any other medication would make your life even that much more miserable. And Itzel, you found that out firsthand because you're super sensitive to medication. For you, even as small as, 12 micrograms were making you sick. Yep.
13 micrograms every other day was within like 2 days. My heart palpitations, anxiety, like instability would just skyrocket. So, it depends on a personal basis, but I know we had that discussion. It's like, it's all, at this point, it's the baby, you need to save this baby. So whatever it takes. So obviously it was so early in the game that if I needed to take medication, then that's what I was going to do. But unfortunately, in my case, I wasn't able to do that. But if my body was able to tolerate it, I probably would have taken it, just to get through this pregnancy and save this child. So it's not something that you want to gamble with, when you're pregnant.
So, but if we look at it objectively, and at no point right now, this is going to be a consultation for anyone. So please don't take it. This is not medical advice. But look at this. You were in a situation, as most people are, your TSH was 56, then it was 30 something, then it was 12 something. By all means, my doctor, when mine was 3.6, when I got pregnant, and only because of medication before that drove me there, he said, you're risking your pregnancy, go on medication right now, 3.6. He was
Wow.
using fear. So I took a day off. I drove around town, kind of come down, look at everything. I said, no, healthy diet, do what I was doing. And then 4 weeks later, my TSH was 1.4. I mean, that was not a surprise. And even with that 3.6, the fear mongering has got to stop. But if we look at you at 56, it worked for you. So why couldn't it work? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take medication. So again, take it with a grain of salt. But why wouldn't it work for somebody with TSH that is 12? If it worked for somebody, you went from 56 to 30 something to 12 to 5. This goes to show you that if you give it proper support, so by all means, if you're eating a junk diet, if you're counting calories, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not resting well, do not mess with it. Listen to your doctor, do whatever you need to do. On the flip side, if you want to do it like an Achi, she's tuned in right now. She came to me during pregnancy. At 6 months, we were able to get her off medication. When you have the proper support with diet and lifestyle and mindset work, then this is what's possible, because Itzel, you saw that with yourself. When your anxiety was up, your TSH was up with it. When your anxiety went down, what happened? All of a sudden, the numbers started to go down again. So this is a whole person. So my program is called 360-degree hormones. For that reason, we take into consideration your emotions, your diet, your sleeping patterns, your relationships, your fitness, all of that. So by no means just like double my medication or cut down my medication. I actually have it as a part of my agreement with my clients that they sign it. I will not get off medication myself or I'm fired as a client, because we don't want to take that risk. But when it's calculated, when Itzel had to face it and do it, then it's done in a different way. So we can't sit here all day long and use the disclaimer saying, listen to your doctor, take your medication. At the end of the day, how do we know that that very medication would not cause for you to have a miscarriage? There is no reason. So, for example, if this happened early in a pregnancy, you don't take medication. Oh my God, it's exactly because you did not take medication. This is what happens. You should have done it. Now, what if you were on medication, had a miscarriage? Oh, we don't know. It just happens. Like there is going to be no repercussion for somebody who is losing a baby because of medication, because they're covered by the legal system. But if you travel into the world of crazy here, the world of impossible, then the blame game begins. But now as you can see, I got on the soapbox here. So I might as well stop. Jeanette said, congrats on your healthy pregnancy, Itzel.
Thank you, Jeanette. Yeah.
All right. So right now, if you have any questions, start sharing them, because we're going to start wrapping up here very soon. Post them away. Ask any questions. If Itzel, right now, if you were to meet yourself 7 months ago, and if you're on the verge of, should I talk to Elena? Should I not talk to Elena? What would be one piece of advice that you would give yourself 7 months ago?
Oh, wow. You know what? I would say, I know it sounds kind of redundant, but just do it. I mean, you have nothing to lose. It's food. You can't go wrong with food, especially if it's natural food. And I would say one thing, you know what? This is probably the best investment you will make. The time, everything is going to be very much worth, the results you will get. You will be educated as far as food, your mindset, fitness. Just this will turn your life around. So I would probably tell myself, like, well, you're nothing else is working. You have nothing to lose. Do it.
And the Itzel would have listened, because Itzel eventually did. And we end up with people. I wish we had ended up with people who are like thinking about being healthy. I need to prevent this from happening. We don't get those people. We get those people. I'm so sick. I just cannot move anymore. I cannot breathe anymore. Medication makes me more sick, and I've gained a lot of weight. And this is what we get. And at this point, if you wait any longer, and especially if you're pregnant, facing to have a pregnancy, then you're risking everything every day.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and at this point, I felt like I was going backwards. Doctors kept telling me, oh, well, wait till your thyroid is stabilized to get pregnant. Otherwise, you can have, pretty severe complications. And so I was like, okay, we're waiting or whatever, but I just felt like I was going back and back and back farther away, because my thyroid was getting worse, just so many things were just getting worse. My health was getting worse. I was gaining more weight. So just, that's one thing that I greatly appreciate about this program, it just gave me a different perspective on food and health altogether.
And now it's doable. So HCG diet is something you do for 40 days, you starve, and then you're like, gotta go back and just get renourished. And this is the kind of lifestyle that you don't have to take a break from it. I've done it for 10 years. My clients, a lot of them have done it for many, many years. And you don't have to take a break from being healthy because you don't starve, you don't count, you sleep better, you get pregnant easier. And at the end of the day, you just feel great. I got an private message from Tracy the other day. I said, how are you doing? And she said, it just feels great to feel great. Because sometimes when for years and years you've been suffering, you forget who you are, what you're about. And for somebody like you, you're running a business, it makes it harder to earn income because you're not just 100% yourself.
Exactly. And, and then this food, people are so afraid of a plant-based diet, but this food is good. It really is. And you know what? You realize how your taste buds actually start normalizing. Now, to this day, if I have just a taste of chocolate or just somebody's drink, I'm like, oh God, that's too much sugar. I don't even know how I used to drink this before, because your taste, everything is so overly, altered,
overly stimulated. Yeah.
Overly stimulated. Exactly. And so, as we started trying some recipes and stuff, I said, you know what? This is good food. And then and then I think the epitome is when people start craving kale. That's the funniest.
Yes, I'll never forget the day I was driving in a car one day from the farmers. We have a farmer nearby, and I'm reaching out, I'm grabbing kale, I'm just chewing on it, and everybody's like you're crazy. I'm like, no, this is better than chips. You don't understand. This is so good.
Yeah. And people ask me to this day, actually in pregnancy, are you craving anything? And I'm like, no, not really. Not especially the crazy things like pickles and ice cream and stuff. And I'm like, no, I just want some garbanzo salad, really. But maybe beans, fruit. I can. That's one thing that I was. So,
my kid, I felt like she was constantly saying olives, watermelon, olives. What? I mean, you cannot really go wrong with that. Olives and watermelon. My whole pregnancy, I loved them.
Yeah. And so, the food is great. This is something you definitely, do for the rest of your life and not be deprived by any means. And you can make choices. So, yeah.
Awesome. And Maria, you said you just joined the group yesterday and you like information. I'll make sure we're going to private message you more information on this before. It all sounds great. It's like my first time in the group and all of this is happening. So absolutely, we're going to make sure that you get that information, because we are shocked to most people. Most people that come in this group, the first question they post is, which supplement should I take? Which natural medication are you taking? There's, by the way, no such a thing as natural medication. So here, or as this is my outlet, the work I do with clients like Itzel and Achi and others is done in private. And this is my outlets to do service to more. So there's a video section in the group where you can check out. There's over 100 videos. I did not know I'm such a talker, but in the last year, there's over 100 videos of me. So there's a lot to benefit from. But Itzel, thank you so much. I know I reached out to you recently. You just came to my mind. I'm like, I wonder how that baby's doing. But you're about to go into third trimester.
Yeah. And you know what? And I just got an ultrasound yesterday. And one of the biggest concerns with hypothyroidism is the lack of growth of the baby. And they're like, no, he's a big baby. He's definitely growing. And I'm like, oh God, now we're on the other side. His little bones are really big, and they're like, it's because you're tall people and you just you're not going to get a 5-pound baby. So I
was lucky. I got a 6-pound 5-ounce baby, and let me tell you, the way she was coming out, if she were any bigger, I think I would be like tearing her out of myself, because it was no fun. But my delivery was easy, if you can call 36 hours of labor easy. But she came out, everything was great. I was back in my bed within minutes, and the baby weight was gone within literally like 2 to 4 weeks. Everything was gone, and I was back into my normal jeans. Well, the whole pregnancy actually kept the same jeans. I just put bigger shirts on top of them. Wow. So the weight loss is much easier on this, and sustaining it, and lactation is much easier on this diet, and just having a better life altogether.
Yeah, and that's exactly what where a lot of people are like, oh, the weight, it's hard, and people tell me now, like, you look the same. You don't look swollen or puffy, or you just have this belly now. And I'm like, yeah, right.
Okay, hold up, I want to see the belly.
Okay, you want to see the belly?
Let me see the belly. There's the belly. Baby George is in the house. I love it. So wonderful. We
Yeah,
just can put a big bow on top of it now.
yeah. Now it's I actually look pregnant, and that just people just barely told me recently, like, oh, now you look pregnant. I'm like, well, yeah. Yeah.
Anything before that, anybody's too afraid to say anything because they're like, is she gaining weight or is she pregnant?
Exactly. Yeah. They're like, oh, now you actually look pretty. So
yeah, I loved it when I went from looking like I might be just gaining weight to, there's a defined belly out here. So I'm not just getting bigger. I'm getting bigger.
Yeah. And so, thank God I'm not really afraid of the postpartum weight. People are like, oh, and drink this and take this. I'm all, you know what? I know exactly what helps me deflate.
Yeah. It's back to exactly what you're doing right now. And during the pregnancy, when we eat this way and live this way, the weight loss is minimal. Our women gain between 14 to 30 pounds. That's within the norm. And normally that's gone within just a couple of months after that. And that's the norm too, because a lot of it is your blood almost doubles in volume. So that goes down and the weight goes down, and you shouldn't have the puffy face, the puffy feet, the puffy legs. It should be just a normal pregnancy.
Right.
Like it was meant to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're doing good. Thank you for, this interview. And again, Elena, I'm so thankful. I do think that the Lord just guided me to you, and I feel so blessed. I really do. And now, for some reason, my head is already like, oh, so what, baby number 2? Is it going to work? Let's get through this.
My husband was like that. I barely had Isabella. I popped her out, and he's like, when we're going for number 2, I said, 36 hours of labor. Not right now. We're not talking that at all, but that can be, it's fun. Get them out while you can. It's fantastic. That way we have energy, and they have siblings. I wish I had a sibling for Bella right off the bat, because right now it's like, mommy, come play with me. Mommy this, mommy that. I'm like, oh God, I should have given you a brother right away.
I know. Yeah. So, but we'll talk about that when the time comes, right? But yeah, thank you guys for the comments too. I appreciate it.
Oh, look at this one too. So Achi, she had a baby that we were able to get out of her without medication. She named him George. Yours is George. So these are the delicious George babies.
Yeah, you've got the Georges.
There's something in the water. But thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy professional, and your business hopefully is doing better now that you're full energy and you're happier. Because when you're not as happy about yourself, working especially with special needs kids and adults or whoever it is, it's always harder, because your pain plus their pain is just too much pain.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's my life's taken a turnaround, definitely. So, I'm looking forward to having this baby and getting through it. Yeah, but I don't know if there's any more questions or.
Yeah, there's one more right now, and this might be a me question. Let's see. Jeanette says, although I'm not interested in having another baby, I'd like to know how Elena's diet works for lactating moms. I'm still nursing my 2-year-old 2 to 3 times a day. Kudos to you. I have 5 kids from 2 to 22. It's so much rhyming. So I can't be too greedy. It works the same way. So people ask me, what do we do for lactation? Same thing that we do to conceive, to stay healthy. So when the body is in tune and whole the whole time, Jeanette, there's nothing you can do additional. But overall, sometimes what people will say, what can I do extra to lactate more? Greens are amazing for lactation, like raspberry greens, raspberry leaves. Those are really, really great that you can make teas out of them. You can, now during pregnancy, don't use them until the end of the pregnancy, because those can be relaxing for your uterus. You don't want to relax it too soon. Yeah. So watch out for that. But once you're lactating, greens are amazing for that. And just, we look at a balance of, there's fruits, veggies, legumes, roots, vegetables, grains, and then specific, like Itzel, she could not do gluten. Some people can do gluten. We have to be specific to that. Looking if there's a deficiency that would be causing any problems. But at 2.5 years of age, 2 to 3 times a day, that's fantastic. I nursed mine until she was 2.5. And then poor kid, to this day, she's 5. She's still like, mommy, when you have a baby, I want to have, she called them boobas. So not anything. She's like, I want to have boobas. So we're working on dissuading her, and she still remembers that. But kudos to you, Jeanette. They just get smarter and healthier when the longer they nurse. So yeah. I certainly come from a line of women who had no problems lactating.
Oh, good.
I could have gone and on and on. I'm telling you.
Oh, feed all the babies.
TMI, right? TF, feed the babies. But thank you so much, Itzel. We're going to finish here because I know you have a busy life to get to, and George Jr. now. So thank you so much. For those of you who are interested in finding out more about what we do, what you can do is, if you've never watched any of our trainings, such as a webinar on thyroid issues or hormone issues, just leave a comment here. We'll give you a link through your private message so we don't clog the feed here with comments. And if you've already been in this group for a long time, and if you're not at 100% where you want to be, and if you want to do what Itzel did for herself, now we don't guarantee babies in 3 weeks or 2 weeks. We just know that we can get you there a lot faster than the doctors can. You can reach out to us. I'm going to put a link right here in the comment section. You can go ahead and schedule what we call a discovery call. A discovery call is a time when me or one of my team members will get on a call with you, so you might not get me. Read my lips. You might not get me. Don't get upset because there's only one of me and there's so many calls. But we'll get on a call with you, and we'll spend about 40, 50 minutes talking about what you're going through, what the possibilities are. Are you good for what we do? And can we actually help you? Because we never take on a client that we cannot help. And that means it's 100% what we did for Itzel and what we're doing for people like Achi and others. We want to be sure that we can deliver on your desired outcomes. So we'll spend time doing that. And if it happens that we can help you, then we can talk about the program, how long, because we have different lengths of program. We can talk about all of that then. But reach out to us only if you're ready to do something now. This discovery call is not just to get to know me. This is the way to get to know me. So it's not for chit chat. It's only for people who are desperate to do something now. We have, today we had 8 calls alone, like between me and another person. And it can be overwhelming. It's a lot of pain we're listening to. So make sure that you're desperate to change something now, not in 2 years, not in 3 years, not when you're ready to have baby in 20 years, but now. So we're talking about, if you need help now, then reach out. If you don't, then just hang around here in the group. Check out the resources, the posts, the videos here, and we'll get to know each other that way. Or you can also private message me and ask a general question. Cannot do a consultation until we can do a consultation like we did with Itzel. But with that said, so do reach out to us. And for those of you, Maria, is there a cost? No cost for the discovery call, because that's the time for me to find out if I can help you. So that's a lot of doctors did that to me when I was sick, and I'm sure for Itzel, you go, you pay, you get into their office, they're like, more medication. I don't do that because I went through this hell myself. I do this. I would figure out for free if I can help you first. And if we do work together, yes, there's a cost for the program. And it's the minimum amount I work with clients is 2 months. So the cost would be including a lot of support there, but no cost for the discovery call. It is free of charge. And it is time for us to see if we can help you. Do we want to work with you? And do you want to work with us? Because all those 3 have to check out. We end up with amazing women like Achi and Itzel and others. They work really good as a community. We'll like each other because I ask for 100% trust. Right, Itzel, when we're talking about, oh my God, you take this medication, and there's this trust that we form, and it's not blind trust. It's always education. It's always support. So picking a few people that I know I can get 100% there and get the baby or the health, or no babies and the health. So yeah, no cost for that. All right. Thank you so much, Itzel. Have a fantastic rest of the night. And everybody who tuned in, again, if you have questions, private message me. Do reach out if you're ready for absolute transformation. All right, y'all. Have a great night. There you have it. Did you enjoy today's podcast? If you did, make sure to subscribe to my show. And don't forget to tell others about it too. If you'd like to get more information about me and what I do, how I help amazing human beings just like you achieve their optimal dream health, go to www.360impacthealth.com to the contact page and shoot me a note. Thank you so much for listening. I will catch you on the next episode of the Health Wizard podcast.